good. Hey, so let's talk about your new project.
Mate, first I just want to say thanks. I think, as far as I know, I'm the first person to double dip on the show and appear in both season 1 and season 2, mate. So I feel it's a great privilege, and I thank you for the opportunity to be on the show again. I've been watching all of the episodes and watching how the show's grown, and I know that the episode that I did with our band, we got a lot of more people involved in what we're doing from appearing on it, mate. So thank you for the opportunity both then and for now to talk about me side project.
Excellent, man. No, that's great. Thank you.
I really appreciate it, Matt.
No, excellent, Chris. Thanks you. Yeah. So, what made you do? What put you in the idea of this?
Well, mate, what it was, and I think I explained in the first time, but I'll explain for anybody who hasn't seen the first one that we did. Was I've always written songs since I was a 14, 15-year-old kid, or maybe even earlier, and it did a bit of shouting in a couple of bands when I was younger, and it just never really amounted to much. And I lost my confidence, and when bands that we were sort of coming up with were achieving stuff, and we didn't seem to be getting anywhere in the way of record deals or all that type of stuff, which was how it worked back in those days. I lost my confidence and had a few issues with alcohol and drugs, with mental health and stuff, and so really just fell out of music for a lot of years. But I kept writing songs, and that was I got to my 40th birthday, and I just had this backlog of songs that I felt like if I didn't do something with them then, I probably never would. Punk rock, as you know, like yourself, is my first and my main true musical love. But there'd always been songs among the backlog of songs that I'd written that when I was hearing them inside my mind, they didn't necessarily sound punk rock. And a number of them we sort of took and used them for the band and played them and sped them up or whatever and turned them into sort of punk rock songs. But it didn't change the fact that there was a number that we couldn't really do it to, because lyrically they're sort of dealing with, like sort of stuff dealing with like love songs or she left me type song, but that don't really, and I certainly don't fit in thematically with what I do with the band. But if I ever thought, or if I ever do something else, maybe I'll be able to record these songs then. But they always sounded a little bit sort of alt country in my mind. Like, I'm not talking like Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash, although I love Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash. I'm talking more about the sort of space that's inhabited by artists like Steve Earle and the Jayhawks, and the Bodines and bands like that, So over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, and one of the big things for me with why I didn't do music for so long and was the fact that I lost all my confidence with it. I just thought, when all the other bands that I was with failed, being the chief songwriter and the front man, I took that really, really personally. And I just got into my mind that for many, many years that I had no talent and I was shit. And I mean, the jury's still out on whether or not I do. But confidence-wise, over the last 4 or 5 years, I've gotten a lot more confident and I've done a lot of singing, both in the studio, a lot of singing live. And that made me think, well, all these songs that don't necessarily sound punk rock, maybe I'll have a crack at doing them now. And I've got the wherewithal, and I know I know my way around a studio and that type of thing. And that's what gave me the idea to form this. And it's the Crash Carpenter's punk rock Philanthropists. The name of the band comes from the first single that we released, called Somebody to Believe In, which we put out about 3 weeks ago. Yep. And it's just about you looking around and looking for people and artists and music that you can still believe in this day and age.
Yep. If I can say something, doing what I'm doing, like, I don't piss in people's pockets, like, if I don't think this is good enough. But you were part of my a week of frontmen.
Yep.
And I absolutely believe that, man. You fucking rock it up on stage. You not demand, but like you just fucking you know, like I said, nothing in your pocket, but you're one of the best frontmen Australian punk's got, and probably
Mate. Boy, oh boy, that's and I mean, we are friends now and we're connected, and I see a lot of the music that you share, mate. So for a guy like me, who, as I said, has only gotten back into music in my middle age, it means so much to me, mate. I really do appreciate you saying that. Part of that is when you're the front man, I feel I take that really seriously. I feel like it's my job to represent. It's like being a part of a team, and when you're the front man, it's like you're the captain, and you got to lead by example. And I really do take that really, really seriously. As you know, the Clash are my favourite group of all time, and Joe Strummer was once quoted as saying that when he's on stage, we're talking about the Clash and the energy of the band, and you're talking about they play every show as if it was their last, because you never know. Someday it might be, you know. So, and as I said, mate, I've seen some of the front men, and I think I said to you, and I wasn't pissing in your pocket either when I said it was really humbling, and I felt really honoured to be featured among some of the front men that you featured in that list, mate. I can't thank you enough.
No, mate, thank you. No, you've definitely turned my eye. You know, I've been into the Australian punk scene obviously since the late 70s, the 80s, and the 90s were a bit fucked up in the 2000s, and it was hard to pick 7 fucking frontmen. And as I said, mate,
as I can imagine, I mean, and you're like me. Over the last 5 or 6 years, I've seen so many bands and so many incredible performers. So I can only imagine how difficult it must have been, and that's why I said, you know, I felt so honoured to be a part of that list. But mate, I'm on it. I mean, I feel really privileged to be able to be a part of the scene, to be honest, because it's the sort of thing where you don't realise how great the scene is until you're in it. And I was, you know, I was off having kids and raising babies for about 10 or 15 years, mate. So my opportunities to go to really immerse myself in the underground punk scene in Sydney were a little bit few and far between. But as my children got that little bit older, and as I said, we started playing shows and that, I was just blown away by the depth of talent. And it's the sort of thing now where it's not like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, where unless you were in the right place in the right time with the right look and everything, you had everything going for you, you know, so many bands that are able to be like my band, be DUI, not beholden to a record label. You can just, you know, funding obviously is an issue when you've got families and whatever else, you know, but if you've got the funding, which reminds me, I want to talk about my record label that I'm starting up, but we'll get to that in a little bit. You can do it yourself, you know, and you can do it yourself. Back then, you could do it yourself, but you were, you know, you could record and put out music on tapes and that you could sell at your shows. Now through DistroKid and the like, you can be your own label, and you can. And the amount of exposure you get, admittedly, you know, you're a bit limited in your reach when you're doing it yourself. But what I believe is generally you find your audience will find you, or you'll find your audience. And if you're meant to get through to people, then you'll find a way to get through to them, and they'll find a way to get a hold of what you're doing and what you're saying with your music, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's what I love about it. I love the fact that, you know, there's not 5 bands coming through that get to put music out. You know, everybody has the opportunity to put music out, and it truly is it can truly be DIY. You can put it out yourself. You can through DistroKid, and you can put it on all the streaming services, and you can get ripped off by Spotify, or you can, get people to get it off your Bandcamp or whatever, and you can still sell your CDs and all of that stuff at shows and that. But it's there's a lot more opportunity to get through to a lot more ears than you used to be able to doing it DIY like we are.
Yeah. I've wanted to ask this question for a long fucking time. Do you guys get paid for Spotify for having your music on that?
Mate, that's where funny you asked that, because that's where the term rock and roll philanthropists, it started off as punk rock philanthropists, was a term that myself and a guy named Timothy Obradovic and a guy named Chester Stephen, we played a show. They were of a mighty Western Sydney punk rock band, the Colletons, who we were so fortunate when we put our first record out, the Crapenters. We put our first record out, and the Colletons got a hold of it through me sharing it on one of the Aussie punk rock pages or whatever it was, and we're into it. And then they invited us to play shows with them and took us under their wing. And we were talking about the fact that, really, when you're a DIY enterprise and you're the amount of time and the amount of money and the amount of energy, both physical and mental, that you put into making your records and writing your music and making your records and playing your shows, and the fact that for really, you're doing it with very little chance of ever getting any of them or anywhere near the amount of money and time that you spend on it. The financial remuneration is very, very slim. It really is. A definition of philanthropy is, making an active effort to promote human welfare. So basically what you're doing is doing something that takes a lot of your time, a lot of your energy. You're putting yourself out there, a lot of your heart. You put a lot of your heart, and you're basically doing it for other people's enjoyment, with very little chance of getting anything back financially for it, but more just out of the compulsion to be creative and to share that part of yourself with people. So that was actually where the term punk rock and rock and roll philanthropy came from, that I've taken to this project. So yeah, mate. I mean, it's common knowledge. I think you get 0.0003 cents per stream from Spotify, which is the most the streaming service that most people use. But really, if you're doing it to make money, you're in the wrong industry.
It's the same with the movie industry, really. All you got to do is go on YouTube and fucking you can download a movie. You know what I mean? And what's happening? These guys have spent all this money, all this time to put out a movie or an album, and we get it for free. We get it for free.
Well, I think that's just the nature of the beast these days, because there's so many options when it comes to streaming services and whatever else, and YouTube and whatever else. It's not like the old days where, if you wanted to listen to if you wanted to get your music out, you had to get a label, and then your label, and it had to be in stores, and then you had to physically go. And now you can listen to, and it's the same about information too. I can remember, I was like you. I grew up I became of an age where I started listening to or finding my own identity when it came to music in the sort of early to mid 80s, of 10, 11, 12 years old. And information about your favorite bands. Now, like, if you think of a band, you can just look it up and you can get their whole back catalogue and find out everything about them in 30 seconds. Back in those days, it was like, I got right into the Clash. I heard Rock the Casbah. I grew up with Rock the Casbah, and it was the song that I really, really loved the most. And it was just one of the songs when I was, starting high school and gravitating towards the people who like the same sort of music as me. And I went back, but and that was, so if we look at 1984, 1985, the Clash was still limping around in name only. They were, they weren't really the Clash that we know of as the iconic lineup, But information about, I had to, I can remember going into Red Eye Records and Ashwoods and Phantom Records. And if you found a magazine that had a Clash article in it, you would or even David Bowie or Iggy Pop, who were the other artists that I got into first and foremost. Trying to find, and even their music was scarce. It wasn't like you could go in and buy. You're thinking about an artist like David Bowie, and it's only after the fact that you come to realise why, because you find out the fact that he finished with RCA in the early 80s, but they wouldn't sell the rights to EMI, so there was like a bargaining over that for years. And David Bowie, who you think of was one of the biggest artists of the 80s, you couldn't walk into Brashes and fucking HMV or any of those places and get there. All that was available was the stuff that was EMI. So all that 70s body of work you could hardly get. And the same as information too, like you were relying on magazines and stuff like that. And I never forget, when I got into the Clash, I bought the Story of the Clash I think it was a double album, Story of the Clash, Volume 1.
Yes.
And it started, it was like in reverse order. And so because I was only little, it starts off with Rock the Casbah and Mag 7 and all of those, Should I Stay or Should I Go? But then as the record goes on, most compilations, they're chronological. So I started off this, and then I'm going, oh, wow, as these guys went on, they got heaps more raw, because at the end of the compilation was songs like White Riot and stuff like that. But it was actually the other way around, and I didn't know that until I think someone bought out a Clash biography in the mid-'80s called The Last Gang in Town, and I got to and go, oh, fuck, it wasn't like that. It was, and then I learned about punk rock and all the other, Pistols and the Damned and the Stranglers and all the bands that came through at that time, and talking about, and that was how you learned. You learned about these bands, not from, I just heard that song, or I just fucking Shazam it or Kazam it, whatever it's fucking called, and you can just find out what the song is that's playing as you're walking through the shops or whatever. It was by, all right, I've discovered, I never forget, my first exposure to American hardcore music was when I bought the Repo Man soundtrack. Do you remember the Repo Man, the Emilio Estevez, Harry Dean Stanton movie? And Iggy Pop's title song was track 1 on that record. So I bought it just for that song. But the rest of the album was bands like Black Flag and the Circle Jerks and Suicidal Tendencies. And so that was how you learnt back in those days. You sort of, whereas now, as I say, with the way that information is so readily available, and music and movies, you can just find out everything at the, and it was, I feel like those pilgrimages into town as a young kid, rifling through the record bins, looking for secondhand albums and stuff, like, I feel like I don't want to be that old man shouting at clouds as they go by, but, the kids that, there was a lot of, there was value there in not even just in what you were finding, but the lengths that you were going to find it,
Oh, look, the Clash were some of the first albums I ever bought, other than when I was younger, I bought the Countdown fucking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the Clash.
Snorter 85 and all of those compilation. Yeah. Oh, man, I remember those too, because my older brothers would bring those home,
The song that done it for me was Death or Glory. Like, that was when, these guys fucking rock, man.
Yeah, I know. I think we spoke about that last time I was on as well. That's
enough Death or Glory?
Yeah, sorry, mate?
I think Death or Glory, was that Given Enough Rope or London?
No, it's on the London Calling record. It's on the London Calling record. But the same too, with that, because a lot of what, and it's something that the Clash have been a little bit, was the self-mythologizing that they did about themselves. But listening to a song like Death or Glory, and even the fact that they would go back, and I learned so much about reggae and ska from listening to the Clash, and even going back to their first record when they had 13 songs recorded and it went for 26 minutes or something like that. They thought, all right, we'll put a cover of Police and Thieves on, which is the Junior Mervyn, and songs like Wrong and Boyo and stuff. And then that makes you go back and look at, and I remember there was a movie that the Clash were in called Rude Boy, and that talked a lot, and the soundtrack, and they talked about the Harder They Come.
Yeah.
So from the Clash talking about The Harder They Come, that made me go further back to Jimmy Cliff and Lee Perry and all. That was how you found out through artists and music by listening to what the people that inspired you were inspired by, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was I mean, it really was the time that we came through, and just the ability to go and see bands and all of that stuff. Like I was a bit young. So, the early to mid 80s, I think it was just fucking flying. Any given night of the week, you could go to, living here and growing up in Maroubra, you could go and see Iggy Pop at the Maroubra Steels Club on a Thursday night. On the Friday night, you could go and watch the Angels downstairs at the Maroubra Bay Hotel or the Maroubra Junction Hotel. Like it was. But by the time I was, I can still remember though having terrific memories of going to see the Angels in the late 80s, when they were sort of, and Bob Spencer had come in on guitar, and he was a guy that my brothers knew because he went to school at our high school, and and it's sort of stuff like that happening, and you would have had it too. It sort of broke down the barrier between, because when you knew guys who were getting in these bands and playing these shows, you were like, oh fuck, it's not like some type of mythological rock god type thing. It's all just normal people just having a crack, and that's why I love the scene now, because you don't have to be the Angels you don't have to have that bigger profile, but it doesn't stop you from being able to do really exciting and interesting work, and putting your records across and that type of thing,
Yeah, no, the Clash is that movie, the Rude Boy. That got me into Desmond Decker.
Of course, yeah.
And fucking what a Israelites. Let's think. Pick a song. Israelites. What a fucking song, man.
Yeah.
And it was ska, it was reggae and everything, but I think it was just punk as.
And even like a band like Rancid, who cop a bit of shit these days, but every interview you ever read with them, they were talking about, and even in their songs, the Roots Radicals, which is one of my favorite songs of all time. The radio was playing, Desmond Decker was singing. As a 21-year-old kid, I'm going, oh, who's Desmond Decker? I've got to find out about him and that type of thing, and that's finding out through word of mouth and that type of thing, and listening to what the guys who inspired you were inspired by. Say again, that was so important in finding out about that sort of thing, So
100%. And what the flack that the Rancid's getting, is that because they changed record companies, or?
Mate, I don't know. Well, I mean, it's a bit of a bugbear of mine too. Is the fact that Tim Armstrong doesn't want to come to Australia anymore, because he had the relationship with He hasn't been, Rancid haven't been to Australia since 1997 or 98, I don't think. And it's like he's wiped the whole country because his relationship with Brody Dahl ended, So, but as I said, mate, I love Rancid, and the fact that I was fortunate enough that I did get to see them on those tours and the solo show. I'll never forget a solo show. Tim Armstrong played acoustic solo at the Annandale Hotel, which was one of the greatest shows that I've ever been to. I feel like I'm so glad that I was there.
Is that when he had the? Did he have the?
Back to when we play shows too. And as much as it's on an extremely smaller scale, you really would. Every time you get on stage, you're trying to think, oh, I want to play one of those shows where people go, oh yeah, fuck, I saw the Crapenters at Valve Bar that night. They were fucking sick. Like, oh, I was there. Like, you're always aspiring to play one of those shows. One of these days, you hope you hit the mark at some stage. So,
hey, I remember, I think it was 85, 86, and the Pogues were playing at the Australian Youth Hotel in Glebe.
Wow.
And everyone's waiting, like the band, the Pogues get up on stage, they're ready to play. Everyone's waiting for the singer. You know what I mean? And waiting. The band's tuning. And I was there to see the Pogues. I was, Gowan's playing, and like this was the fucking thing for me. And he was at the bar with his head on the bar, and he was passed out. And I didn't get to see him singing for the Pogues. But 10 minutes after they were just about to walk off stage, Nick Cave got up on the stage.
Wow.
And sang for the Pogues. He got up there and he didn't do any of his shit. He did the Pogues. And it was like, okay, I didn't get to see McGowan play, but I've got to see fucking Nick Cave and the Pogues in the same fucking show.
That's what I mean, eh? By like an unfortunate chain of events, you probably got to witness a once in a lifetime show, probably never happened again after. It's funny you mentioned the Pogues, going back to Joe Strummer, because he was with us. He felt at one time when Shane had to pull out of a tour or was forced to leave the band because he was so out of control, Joe Strummer actually filled in on a tour, and they were actually meant to come and play in Sydney on St. Patrick's Day in 1992 or something like that. And then they ended up cancelling or something. I don't know what happened. But that's one of the things. That was the same. It would have been like I was so looking forward, because back in that stage too, Joe Strummer wasn't doing much musically. So the opportunity it was as close as you were ever going to come to seeing the Clash, unfortunately, and I mean, that's part of the thing. What makes Shane McGowan such a legendary frontman is that unpredictability. And if you got him on an on night, you're going, oh my God, Shane McGowan was incredible. But unfortunately, on an off night like the one he sounds like he had that night, you were meant to see him. So,
but it was, as you said, it was great. I got to see the Pogues, not with Shane McGowan, but with Nick Cave. So it was a win-win thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And just talking about that and getting back to the alt country stuff that I'm doing with the Rock and Roll Philanthropists. That's another thing that is shaped. Part of my sensibility was shaped by bands like the Pogues and the Clash again. It was the fact that a lot of the time, and you would have seen it as much as anybody on the punk pages that we frequent, people talking about, is this punk? Is that punk? I'm more punk than you. You're not punk enough. But I look at a record like Sandinista by the Clash, and there's 6 songs on the side, and there could be like a funk song, and then the next one is a soul pop sort of song, and then there's a punk rock song, and then there's a jazz cover by Mosey Allison, and that's part of the thing where I feel like I'm happy to not just be pigeonholed and go off and do a sort of alt country record, because why not? The only thing that's limiting you is your own belief and worrying what people might, what are people going to say when, it's very different. But I mean, the boys in the band, when I first played, because none of the band featured on, played on the Rock and Roll Philanthropist record that we just put out. It's actually just my brother and myself on musically. And we actually were very fortunate. We had a legendary Australian guitar player named Sam Hawksley contribute some slide guitar all the way from Nashville, which was a coup. But it's just about like, fuck it. If we're going to go blues rock country, let's fucking go all the way blues rock country, and not be limited by any type of, ghettoized way of thinking that I am just this type of performer or whatever, like this, let's just do what we want. None of us are getting any younger, and now's the time. And that's why I'm really excited, because I'm going to have a busy. I always say to people, I'm not that talented, but I work hard and I'm prolific, right? Because I've got 4 singles that we're going to put out, that I'm looking to put out with the Rock and Roll Philanthropists, including one of the very first, probably the very first song that I ever wrote when I was about 14 years old. It's a song called High and Dry. And at the time, I wrote it about my first ever little girlfriend who broke my heart at 14 years of age. And the lyric was, yeah, you left me high and dry. And when you read it as a love song, it actually is just so trite. But a little while ago, I saw something. One of my friends, Karen Pereira, hi Kaz. I hope she's a massive fan of the Crapenters, and she's an absolute legend of Sydney punk rock and support. She posted something on Facebook about one of these days a country singer will write a love song about his truck. So I changed the lyrics to make it so that it's about a vehicle rather than, and it actually reads a lot better lyrically with that little bit of tongue in cheek than it ever did as the out and out love song. So, and that's going to be the second single from the rock and roll Philanthropists. And then we got to that. And then also with the band and I are working hard, jamming every week, jamming new songs. We've got our first two singles for the year penciled in. We're recording them in early April to get them out, to make them a little bit of a taster for the full-length, third full-length record that we're putting out later this year. So look, it's going to be a busy year, and I'm really excited. Coming out of COVID, I know you've been following me and some of the wacky things that I do in my spare time, like running 20 kilometres and 10 kilometres and then hopping into the ice bath for 10 minutes and that type of thing. One of the things coming out of COVID that is really sort of helping me to get back to normal is that all of the you know, everybody sort of the whole music industry from the point of view of playing shows and that has ground to a grinding halt over the last couple of years. But it didn't stop people's creativity. And so now, I mean, we were so fortunate last year in that we were able to release four singles as part of our pandemic-inspired great singles bonanza, and then the Christmas song that we put out late last year, and then we've all got these songs now, and I've got this rock and roll Philanthropist songs that I'm putting out. But even just as the band, you know, we're firing on all cylinders. We played a couple of shows in late January, early February with our new 5-piece lineup. I think when we spoke to you, when the band spoke to you last, we were just a 4-piece, but we've got a great mate of mine named Johnny Ammo come in on bass guitar, and we had people who have seen us 20 times and people that I respect, like Jam and Stefan from the Shit Tinnies, and they've seen us play fucking 20 shows, and they all said that it was as good a show as we ever played. So we're really, as a band and both as this other solo type thing that I'm doing, I'm really excited to, we're actually, it's only just been organised this week, but we're actually playing, it's going to be a single launch at Frankie's Pizza. And Frankie's Pizza is a venue we haven't played yet. We played pretty much everywhere else. And it's for a number of the guys in the band, it's like a bucket list thing to be able to play a show at Frankie's, particularly knowing the fact that it's only going to be open for another 5 or 6 months. And that's on May 29. I'm not sure when this episode of Sharing a Drink with Matt will air. But yeah, if you can get up to Sydney on the 29th of May, mate, come and watch us at Frankie's.
Definitely. Put my name on the door. No, joking.
Absolutely. Oh, mate, I will do. You'll be covering it for Sharing a Drink with Matt by that stage, I imagine.
Yeah, I hope so. What do I ask you? Are you like with the country music? Is it like a Johnny's kind of sound?
Absolutely, yeah. The Johnnies were a late 80s band that I always listened to, and yeah, 100%.
Kicked ass.
Really, yeah. You know, a lot of those bands, you know, they're all really, really inspirational. And as I said, I'm glad that I've found a way to get that aspect of what I do musically. As I said, these songs have just been on the back burner. You know, I wouldn't record them with the band. I don't know what I'll do with them. Maybe I'll never do anything with them. So now to sort of be getting them out there, I'm really happy about it, and people have been very positive. Even people, so I got a lot of people like you're like me, mate. Punk rock. Not everybody is born and is able to embrace punk rock like we have. You know, it's not a. But I've got people who are a little bit like that, but they're like, mate, I really like that new thing of yours, you know, and so even just, you know, if you're sharing it on one of the country pages or whatever, or it's on one of the playlists on Spotify or whatever, and people, well, I'll go and listen to everything else that this guy's done or whatever. It's just a way. And anything that I do, I've said to the boys in the band, you know, this is just it's a hobby, it's a fun thing that I'm doing, but playing with the band, and any time we're doing any press for it or anything like that, we're always taking it back and going back to the band, because punk rock is my true love.
Yeah, of course. Because my sound tech, he's American. He used to do sound for like a lot of glam metal bands in America, and he's a I hate this fucking word, Wisconsin. He's from
Wisconsin.
Yes, that's the one.
I know what you meant.
Yeah, thank you. And since like we've gotten together, like he spams me his fucking glam metal bands and shit. He just like pumps me into it. Yep. Like every time I turn my phone on, he's put down 10, 15 fucking glam metal bands. Yep. And he's actually he loves punk. He's an Australian. In the Australian punk scene, he's actually gone, my fucking God, Matthew, thank you for sharing this with me, kind of thing. Yeah. Like, you know, and it's just like what you guys are doing is fucking amazing. Like there's a lot. Okay, you got a lot Lagwagon, the fucking US bombs. You got all that American punk shit, and that's what the kids are for. That's what they listen to. But you see, what happened was I've been in the, like I said before, in the punk from the late 70s to the 90s, and then the 90s came and my house got broken into. All my records got snapped in half. Oh. We had 400 and something records of 90% of them were Australian punk.
Yeah.
Like they were all gone, and the internet hadn't happened. Like I couldn't, and so I started going to record shops, and all I could get was NoFX, anyways, and all that sort of shit.
Yeah.
And then my daughter got me onto the internet, and I was able to get back the music that lost, like World War 24. Yeah. I think anyone that knows me or heard about me knows that I'm a World War 24 fan. Like Painters and Dockers, fucking Australian punk music, and the 90s was fucked for Australian punk music. You had Grimsby, Powderfinger, you had 28 Days, and I couldn't. It just didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
And then when I got onto the internet in the 2000s and started listening to what Australia was putting out, fucking amazing. And you guys can be the ambassadors. You know what I mean? I'm talking about Crash and the Carpenters because I haven't heard your new project, but my daughters just speak. What?
Do you reckon there's more doors or more wheels in the whole world?
Do you reckon there's what?
More doors or more wheels in the world?
I don't know.
What do you think?
Doors.
Yeah.
No, that was
Oh, mate, I'm surprised my daughter hasn't come down and asked me some inane question while we've been. I think she's I told her to stay upstairs. I think she's been on her best behaviour.
They're behaving themselves. I've got one 12-year-old over there wearing a Rust T-shirt. But they wear my clothes all the fucking time.
Yeah.
They'll have a shower and they'll put on my shirts and like, I want a photo op. No, you're not getting a photo. But what I want, is there any Crash and the Carpenters jumping on your new project? Are they having like
any playing with the Rock and Roll Philanthropists? Hey, mate, having said that, my daughter's just come down with her friend Sarah. Come and say hello, girls. Come and say hello to Matthew. I'd like to tell you that the girls are fans of the band, mate, but they're not particularly. That's Sophie and Sarah, I think.
Yeah.
Sophie, Sarah. So this is Sharing a Drink with Matt. We're doing an episode around my new country music project. So, all right, make yourself scarce, girls.
Bye.
All right, bye, Sarah.
I'll be back.
All right.
Bye.
Hello.
yeah,
my affair, mate.
They hate it when I try to put the camera on them.
It's a family show. It's a family affair, mate.
Yeah, that's it.
Mate, it'll just depend on I'd be more than happy for the boys in the band to come. I mean, and if we got to the stage where we decided we were going to start playing shows, the guys in the band are so versatile that, and actually, the funny thing you say that Somebody to Believe In, which is the single that we've just put out with Crash and the Crapenters, Rock and Roll Philanthropists, I'm actually going to double dip with it, and we started working up a version of it with the band, and we started jamming at a couple of rehearsals ago, and it's gone from being this alt country sort of thing that was the way that I first imagined it, but then getting into the room, everybody plugging in and starting playing it, and Dave, who was with me last time, why don't we try this? And then, the Mitchell, our drummer, was sort of like, let's split it up a bit. And it's actually turned into it's gone from being this Steve Earle type, Black Sorrowsy type thing to this fucking Rose Tattoo, faster chugging sort of, which is, and it's like, it's gonna be, I'm really looking forward to being able to hear it in that incarnation, as much so as I am to the recorded version that we've already got out. But yeah, mate, if the guys are in the studio and they're around anytime, I mean, because those guys, as well as being we as well as being in a band together, John and Richard, who Richard's on guitar now, but he was with us last time, and John, I've known these guys since I was 10, 12 years old. Dave, who is the sort of my main collaborator, and him and I do most of the songwriting in the band. We've been mates for 5 or 6 years now, and as well as playing music together, we surf together. And there's a real kinship among the group, and you know what that's like. It's the same as, I guess, I know we spoke about it earlier about being in a footy team or whatever, and you're the captain. But you always go when you're with a team that you've played with for a number of years, and they talk about teams that have been together for a long time, and you build that. When people are coming and going, and there's a different sort of kinship, and it makes you want to go that extra mile for your mates in the band, and that's how I feel about the guys in Crash and the Crapenters too. We're not just bandmates, and we only just see each other on Monday at rehearsal, and then bugger off and don't have anything to do. We're talking regularly about life and about being middle-aged men and about separation or whatever, all the type of stuff and mental health and that type of thing, all the type of stuff that we're leaning onto each other for support at varying times, and that's part of what, and for me personally too, I was just thinking about it during the week because Dave, who was on when we interviewed the first time, he's just getting a new surfboard made up, and it's got the big Crash and the Crapenters logo underneath. And for a person like me, because Crash and the Crapenters just started in my mind, and it was like, I'll make this first record, and it was just, I said to you last time, it was just Michael and I, my brother, who made the first record, and me sort of just playing the rhythm guitars and Mick playing lead guitar and bass and drums. For it to mean that much to the other guys in the band as it does, it's just like, I'm so stoked about it. It means so much to me, the fact that they've bought in and have the belief in this thing that, as I said, just started off as a little twinkle in my eye going back about 7 or 8 years ago. And it was just one single. We spoke about Lou Ferrigno. I thought I'll go in and record one single and see how it goes. And then Short, Fast, Loud grabbed a hold of it and played it a couple of times. And then, we'll do another, and we'll do another. And then it was just like, the aspirations for the group were ever changing and still are, we're really looking forward to putting this third record out and making up for sort of lost ground live with the sort of going back into early 2020. We were flying and we had a lot of momentum, and from playing shows regularly. And as I said, we had shows in Melbourne, the Gong, Sydney, Central Coast, Gold Coast around the record that we had due to put out, and that none of them ended up happening, and you feel like you lost momentum then. But one of the things that I love, and I use it when it comes to the music, and I use it to anything else, is that's the thing about momentum. Sometimes it swings away from you, and you lose momentum, but it fucking swings back too. And that's the thing, grasp those opportunities when you can. And that's what we'll be looking to do this year with the band as well as what. And I mean, my goal for the Rock and Roll Philanthropists is, I've set my sights on hopefully playing some shows in Tamworth next year and taking what I do as a frontman in punk rock, because I only know one way. I can't be reserved because singing in a band is such an unnatural thing for me. I actually have to and that's one of the reasons why when everybody else keeps on drinking and stuff after shows, I usually have about 3 or 4 tequilas before we play and a Red Bull. And then after we finish, I stop drinking. I'm just on the waters and that, because for us aging rockers, it takes a lot out of us, and that's the goal. It's not just going to be a recording project, Crash Crapenter's Rock and Roll Philanthropists. I will be looking to play shows, and when a bit like the Bromps, the Bromps do the mariachi stuff, and they're also so amazing with their punk rock. I would love for Crash and the Crapenters to be doing something like that, as well. Sorry.
That song wasn't actually called "I Was Only 19."
What was it called?
"A Walk in the Light."
Wow.
Yeah, because when the Vietnam vets were over there, they got a map each. And there was a dark patch and a light patch. And the dark patch meant there was heaps of sky coverage, but a lot of ground fucking shit. And the light was, they could see you from the sky, but you were pretty much hidden in the ground.
Wow.
I brought that up because they're the only country band, I think, and they're probably not even country. I don't know what they are, in Australia that I like. Like, I'm not really, and it's you like, okay, you can have a punk rocker go to rock and roll, or a punk rocker go to just fucking normal shit, but you've gone to country, and that is fucking mad shit, man. Like, you don't know how much. Oh, what's the word? I'm just stoked with how you've come from genre that is totally different. All right, in the lyrics, lyric wise, politically, and emotionally, and everything like that, punk and country have a lot in common. In the sound, maybe not.
Yeah.
But it's just, what made you
as I said, mate, it was just about the way that it sounded in my head. And that's like all of the songs, a lot of the time, you can, before you even commit to sitting down with the guitar and working out the chords, and you can hear them floating around in your head from the inception of when they sort of begin in your mind, and that was just the way that these songs always sounded. And so that, and as I said, and even lyrically, some of them, especially this next single, which is the song that's called High and Dry, I'd actually, if I was putting it out about like the way that it was originally written about my 14-year-old girlfriend, I'd be embarrassed. I'd be too embarrassed to put it out. But with it being a bit tongue-in-cheek and about my car that got stolen, that I parked out the front and it got pinched overnight. I went out the next day and I couldn't see it, and it's been cited in Niagara Falls. It's just, the lyric is nonsensical, but it's just the way that the song sounded inside my rattling around inside my head, mate.
Fair enough.
And the thing is too is the fact that I really enjoy listening. As much as I love my punk rock, I do love listening to bands like that I mentioned, the Jayhawks, and even a big one for me, Joe Camilleri and the Black Sorrows, and that's a song that when I actually went with Mick, who produced the record, and he said a lot of the time we'll go, "Oh, what are you thinking? What is this going to sound like?" And I actually took him that and said, "This is if I had to reference a sound, and I mean, and even if I'm being honest, melodically, it's actually quite similar to that song, and the Black Sorrows, that's probably a band, that was come through around that same time as the Johnnies and that type of thing, that were doing a little bit music that was not necessarily country, but more blues rock, alt country type of thing. And that's what I compare this project to as well, to be honest, mate.
That was JoJo Zepp.
That was JoJo Zepp. Yeah, he was JoJo Zepp, and he was doing the reggae stuff. And then he when he came in the mid-'80s and he had Black Sorrows, and they had songs like Chain to the Wheel, which is the big influence, and Harley and Rose, and it was the same deal. You know, he was known for doing this, and he went off and did that. And that's what I like about this thing too. And a lot of the thing about what we get in the circles that we mix in is that if you don't, there's something wrong with you if you don't only listen to punk rock. And you'd be like me, mate. I imagine you grew up in a household and you discovered punk rock for yourself at whatever age it was. But when I was growing up, what was playing in my house? So my brothers are 6 and 8 years older than me, and my dad's a big music fan. And what I was hearing when I was growing up was all stuff like Creedence and the Beatles and Jackson Brown and all that type of stuff. And I still love it to this very day. And to the point where I remember there was people arguing on one of the pages about how if you like Fleetwood Mac, you can't be punk rock. You can't, you know, how can you like this and not and like that? And then I was just like, and I got into, and I don't argue with people on the internet anymore because it's a complete fucking waste of time and energy. Yeah. And it's one of the things that I've stopped doing to manage my head noise a little bit better is just not getting ruffled by what people say on fucking Facebook or any of these social media scourges. But I said, mate, just because I love eating steak doesn't mean I don't enjoy a punnet of blueberries. And they taste completely different, but they're both really, really good. Why not just enjoy them all? You know, why limit yourself to only listening to one type of music or 4 types of music? Listen to everything, you know, and take little bits from here and little bits from there. And that's one of the things when I first come out with the Crapenters on our first record, we got a lot of harmonies. And that's coming from a lot of that stuff that I grew up listening to, but then also listening to a lot of the sort of pop punk stuff that was coming in the mid-'90s where they did have a lot of harmonies, and it was actually melodic punk rather than just beating people. And you know, hooks. I love hooks. There's nothing wrong with having punk rock that's hooky and it's got melody. You know, like I really.
Yeah, definitely. Like my I've got 1,480 songs on my song list.
Yeah,
kind of thing. And since I started this show, I've gotten I think 1,100 and something, and made that up to 14 just from doing this show. But like, I will listen. I'll sit there and I'll be laying down, and I just put it on mix.
Yeah,
like not just because I got in sections: punk, rock, mellow, sleepy time, fucking time kind of shit. And I'll sit there and I'll listen, and fucking Pennywise will be pumping out Pennywise, and the next song will be C6 Steve. I don't know if you've ever heard this guy, C6 Steve. I know of C6
Steve,
And I just lay back and like, fuck, you know, it helps me go to sleep. And
each month I make up a playlist for me Spotify, and because it's like stuff that I've had an idea, and then maybe you've shared something, so I'll go, Painters and Doctors, I'll put a couple of their songs on, and then it could be the Jayhawks, a song called Blue by the Jayhawks, and then and when you're putting it on shuffle and you've got that mix all the time, it makes it more interesting than if you've just got the guitar stuff or you've just got the fast stuff, you know, like variance in tempo and that type of thing. It's really, it's so much more interesting to listen to a wide, and that's, as I say, I know I keep going on about the Clash, but they're my favourite group, and that's part of the reason why, is the fact that they evolved. You know, you've got bands that come through with the Clash and they've made a career and they're still going all these years later, but they're basically just doing the same thing as they always did. The Clash over the course of even the Jam is probably my other, and Paul Weller is, you know, they went from being angry young punks. Really, the last Jam record with Town Called Malice and Ghosts and those songs on it, it was almost like the first Style Council record because they evolved so much over the course of the 6 or 7 albums that they released. And I like that, you know, I really, and I like even on our last record, we sort of, the 5 guys and 2 of the guys are no longer with the band, but that was a record that encapsulated everything that 5 guys was into at the time. And a lot of it was punk rock, but we had a soulful sort of Chili Pepper-esque type ballad on there, and we had a real angry political. You know, I actually, for this next record, we've actually been talking about maybe, and I mean we're very fortunate, as I think I said to you last time, we've got 2 songwriters in the band, in Darbs and myself, but we've also the other guys. Like the other day, the guys, I come into the rehearsal room and I was about 15 minutes later than everybody else, and they were jamming this funky thing, and I walked in and I said, because they listen to a lot of this fucking stuff that I don't even listen to, you know, the other guys in the band, like and I was like, oh, what's that? Is that like a Megadeth fucking song or something, you know? And they were like, oh no, that's just something we were just jamming up. And I was like, fuck, let's get the phone on and let's record it, and I'll start working to put some buttons and just do different stuff, you know. Like I would never want any of our records to just sound the same, 14 songs of just the same stuff, you know.
Like you're probably going to get people like interviewers saying, Chris, you've sold out, you know, you've gone from punk to this. Who gives a fuck?
No, mate, nah. Yeah, I never forget. It's like, mate, the thing about it, and that's what we started talking about, Facebook, and people are always going to offer their opinions. But we played a show at the Factory Theatre early last year, and somebody shared, we covered, and around us, it was around Australia Day, and we were talking about the changing of the date, which I'm fully supportive of, you know. And we actually played White Riot by The Clash, because we played some Clash shows beforehand, and my reasoning was for that was that I wish we were united, and it meant as much to the white population as it does to the Aboriginal population, you know. And if it did, and we were all united, we might be able to affect that change. That would mean so much to somebody. Got online and said, that's the fucking worst Clash cover I've ever heard, right? And one of the boys in the band messaged me, says, should I arc up? And I said, mate, it's water off a duck's back, you know. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and chances are anybody who is getting on and being overly negative probably isn't doing as much as you are anyway. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing comes from a place where you know, to get on and be overly negative about what people are having a fucking crack, you know. That comes from people who really, they're not really doing that much. So I'll snipe at what you're fucking doing instead, because I've got this platform to do so, you know. So you've just got to let it slide, because you get back at them and you retaliate and say, oh yeah, fucking what are you doing, or whatever. You just go around and around in circles. And really, that's not what any of us got into this for. We want to, and you know what we're about lyrically. We're positive. We're not, you know, the world is fucked and everything's doom and gloom. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of the time when I feel like it is, but documenting that fact isn't helping anybody. We want to try, you know, that's why we're singing about, and having said that, I am the bloke who wrote, we're all in this alone. You can't trust no one. You're better off alone. People are no fucking good. But providing a bit of balance too, because over the course of the singles that we put out last year, I'd worked all my way around to, let's have an outbreak of human kindness. Let's have an outbreak. And it was just imagining you could spread, because it was pandemic inspired, that run of singles. I'd worked my way around to being, imagine if you could spread good vibes as easily as you could spread COVID. And that's what we're trying to do. I don't want to alienate anybody. If you've got something bad to say about us, I won't retaliate, because you're entitled to your opinion or whatever. And we're just trying to, actually, people should look out that we've got a lyric video for that single, Outbreak of Human Kindness, coming out in the next couple of weeks. And it's something that I'm really excited about. My niece, who is a budding young graphic designer and artist, we're calling it a lockdown lyric video, because the three of us who were still in the band at that time sort of sent her some videos when we were in the most recent lockdown late last year. And with that, she's put graphics together around the lyrics of the song, and it's a ska song, so it's very two-tone oriented. And I'm really excited and looking forward to people seeing that. And what I said to her is that really I want the lyrics to be the star of the video, because I feel like it's as strong a lyric as I've ever written, and I feel like the lyric is really representative of who I am as a person. I said, so I want the lyrics to be the star of the video, and we're just making sort of cameo appearances with the band. And the beautiful imagery that my niece, who is Eliza Carpenter, has provided, I'm really excited for people to start to see that clip for that most recent single that we put out last year, Outbreak of Human Kindness. So,
well, hey, to me, Rise Up, you didn't write it, but that's your song, man. Like, you've made that song.
I'm unabashed in saying to people that that's my favourite song of ours, and it's one that I didn't even write, because I just, mate, from the moment Dave brought in the demo, I was just like, and I think I said to you last time, or I might not, it might have been on another one of the podcasts or whatever, that song was a real learning curve for me, because when Dave brought it in, see, because I'm not really a musician, you know, I can play guitar and I can write, and I know enough to write, you know, and I can put chords to the melodies that I've got inside my mind and that type of thing. A lot of but Dave brings in these songs and they've got long notes and drawn out notes and that type of thing. And I'll never forget the first time that he brought it in, and I was like, oh yeah, it'll be good. It's going to be like a Joe Strummer, Mick Jones type thing. And you can sing that one, because I didn't think I had the ability, to be honest. And then Dave was like, oh, you know, I wouldn't feel like it was the Crash and the Crapenters thing if you didn't sing on it. So what I did, and initially it was just in the rehearsal room, started singing it, and then as time went on, I felt more confident, and it really helped me to develop as a singer, being able, and that was that thing about being a front man and wanting to do justice to the material that my friend had brought in and offered up. You know, he could have kept it for himself. Dub's the solo artist in his own right. He could have, but he brought it in. He wanted it to be part of our canon. And so to be able to do it justice, I knew that I had to improve as a singer, and it really helped me develop as a singer. And as I say, mate, that's my favourite song, and that's my favourite song of ours. It probably will be until the day that we call it quits, you know, because just not only because I love the way that it sounds, but lyrically it's so poetic. That line, it's one of my, and I felt so privileged to sing it for all, you know. You're talking about rising up over the self-disdain that you live in for, and the second part of the chorus goes, for all tides will turn like the embers of fires once burned, here a heat remains, from the ashes I'll rise once again, which is as poetic a thing as we've ever written. And I felt really privileged to sing it. The Dubs had, and he had the belief in me that I could do it, and through that I got the belief in myself that I could do it, Matt, it's a really important song to me.
It is. Hey, have you got any songs with the Crapenter? Have you any songs about male mental health? Or?
Mate, we've got the three singles that we've got out this year that we're looking to put out before we put out our record this year. We've got a song it's a reggae song called Ride It Out, and that's what that's all about. It's about just riding out the tough times, you know, doing what you have to do to get through. I think Dave wrote that one, and I love. It's like right up there with Rise Up as far as I'm concerned. It's we've been playing it live, and it's really, really well received. But it's not ska. It's like an out and out reggae song, you know. And it talks about. I think I don't think I'll be telling tales out of school or giving away any secrets. It might be about, you know, taking a step back, maybe lighting a doobie up or something like that, or something along those lines, and just letting all of the and ride it out, let all the doubts and fears fade away, and just have a bit of time where you just be in the present and ride that stuff out. And so that's talking about that. And then we've also got a song, which is a song that I've just written in the last couple of weeks, and it's a really important song to me. A couple of weeks ago in Bathurst, one of my friends who lives in Bathurst, her beautiful daughter Tilly took her life at 15 years of age, and I don't know if you saw actually, but my friend Emma shared the what she'd written as a eulogy, and she described it as a death of 1,000 cuts because beautiful Tilly had been the subject of really vicious bullying, both in person and online, and fake nudes being spread on Snapchat and all of these type of things, and she described it as a death of 1,000 cuts. It wasn't, and that's so I've written a song. It's called, and one of the things that there was articles about this in the newspapers and about schools and governments being more accountable and doing more about these things, because you know what it was like when we were growing up. Generally, if you were being bullied, people were talking shit about you in class or on the bus or whatever. Now so much goes on online, and I know from myself of what we were talking about when someone talks shit about one of your cover versions or says that one of the songs that you put out is shit or whatever, and it can be hurtful. And you're a middle-aged man, I've fucking seen and done it all. For these beautiful children, they're really subject. It's a different world when it comes to bullying these days, and that's a song that's really important to me because it talks about that, and really it's a co-write because I just lifted segments of what my friend Emma wrote in this eulogy and put them into before you speak, before you post, before you share. Please ask yourself these 3 questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? And is it kind? And if the answer to any of these is no, then don't. People and I mean, children are children, and they make mistakes, and we've all been there and bought into that. But really, when it's getting to the stage where it's affecting children's mental health the way that did, it's really up to the adults in the equation, the schools, because all of this stuff was being reported, and it was just like, we've spoken to them and they've said they won't do it again, but there needs to be more being done so that we're not, losing these children at what should be the best times of their lives. And it's a song that really means a lot to me, as I said, because it's a personal song. So yeah, that's going to be one of the 3 singles that we put out this year ahead of the 3rd record, which I'm thinking of calling the record Therapeutic Alliance. That's something that it's a term that I learnt through. I did a counselling diploma a couple of years ago, and I just love that term, Therapeutic Alliance. Like when you think of an alliance, you think of a bond, but it's a bond of therapy, a therapeutic alliance. You're helping people, and that's part of what we're trying to do, as with our message, with our music, and that type of thing.
Oh, definitely. Well, in the last 4 years, we've lost 3 nephews to suicide in the last 4 years, and I know it's something like being at the funeral and everything, and with the uncle and all that sort of shit. Like there's nothing you can say,
There's no consolation that can. What can console a parent who's had to bury their own child, mate? There's nothing. It's one of the most obvious and oldest cliches that there is, but it's unnatural for a parent to have to bury their child. It's not the way that things should be. And so many of these young people, and as I said, I know personally, what are people saying about me online or whatever else and that, and I'm a middle-aged man who has been around the block a million times. For these young children, and when it's getting, and they've got to think, how many people saw this, and especially when it's fake stuff and stuff that's made up. And as I said, children are children and they do these things, but schools and governments need to be making this type of thing more of a priority than they are. And worrying less, and schools in particular need to be worrying less about tuition fees and alienating parents because they'll go to another school, and worrying more about protecting children.
Yeah,
online.
definitely. It scares the fuck out of me because I've got a couple of I've got 5 adult kids and 3 younger kids, but 2 of the younger kids are teenagers, and it scares the fuck out of me because they've got a lock on their phone, and I can't see what's on their Instagram and everything, and I don't know if they're getting bullied, if they're bullying, even if they're on the other side of the.
Well, that's right, and I mean, you'd be like me, mate. I'd be extremely offended if I found out one of my kids was being bullied, but I'd be also find it just as offensive if my kid was doing the bullying, and I'd want to do whatever I could to make it stop.
Yes.
So yeah, but that's what I mean. It's a different landscape to the way that we grew up. As I said, when we grew up, generally, if you were like I think about social media and everything, and it's like if you were getting bullied at school, you might know about it, and your friend, you'd be up the back of the bus and someone would be calling you big nose, which I copped quite a bit, or whatever, fucking bucky teeth or whatever, like all the stuff that you cop. But it's in a limited, and I think about, imagine if they were getting up in front of the whole school and doing it. Or even imagine if they were that's what it's like with social media now. It's not exclusive to the little circle of people who may be around whenever you're copying this treatment. It can be thousands of fucking people that this child doesn't even know can be reading stuff about them or seeing fake news and that type of thing, which is just, it's fucking frightening, mate. It frightens me too. Like, it's one of the things that keeps me awake at night, Matt, one of the many things that keeps me awake at night. But like anything else, what we're trying to do is put it into a song. And if I can, and that was one of the things, and I did ask Tilly's mum if she minded if I spread the information that she was spreading in that form, because it might mean that it'll reach ears that it wouldn't have reached just by it being in the Daily Telegraph, which it was, and that type of thing, and that's really, as a songwriter or as a parent or as whatever, the best you can do is try and educate either your children or your audience and try and implement however small a change that you can through your music. It's fucking better than doing nothing, like at least you're having a crack and trying to change things in your own small way, Yeah, it means a lot to me, that song. I can't wait for people to hear it.
Yeah, no, fucking excellent, man. And actually, after when my editor, my sound tech, puts this thing together, we're going to put Lifeline's number at the end. I just think, or Headspace.
Mate, I'll send you a link to an organisation that I'm affiliated with, and they were when we got the song called Rise Up, I was so stoked because I said to this friend of mine, it's a guy named Ben Higgs, and he's the founder of Rise Foundation Australia. I think I spoke about Rise Foundation last time that I was on with you, and he's a local guy from Maroubra, and I just dropped out then. He's a local guy from Maroubra, and inspired by the death of one of our mates, the legendary Itchy Rat. He decided to make his life and his life's work about suicide prevention. And he goes to the mines in Western Australia and Far North Queensland, and he goes to South Sydney Juniors Leagues Club and Blacktown Workers Club, delivering courses on mental health first aid. And so I'll send you a link to his organisation and livin.org, who inspired our It Ain't Weak to Speak song, because these are people who are, it's not government funded, they're not for profit, and they're just solely in it for to help to try and implement change and so that we're losing less young lives to suicide. And actually, we're talking about Itchy Rat, going back 8 or 10 years ago, after our friend Itchy Rat, Rod Hoare, took his life, Higgsy put on a couple of shows, Rat Fest 1 and 2, and they were Selena's, I think, was one of the shows, and my memories of them are very vague, but just fucking, and what we were actually, Ratfest 3 was planned for August last year. And I was so excited about it because I'd been at Ratfest 1 and 2 as a punter and not as a musician back in those days. So to be able to play, and we were playing with bands like Recast and Idiot were reforming, legendary Sydney punk rock band Idiot, and then COVID. And so actually you've given me a reminder. I might have to get in touch and try and get Ratfest 3 back happening. That was supposed to be at Manning Bar, and I was so looking forward to it. We might have to get it back on the agenda now that things are opening up.
Yeah, I'd like to give him an interview too.
Mate, absolutely. I know that. Oh, mate, he'd be fucking wrapped with that. It'd be right up because he is like fucking hardcore punk and ska, big Clash fan. His son is called Strummer, and I know he won't mind me mentioning that fact. And serendipitously, Dave, our guitar player, teaches Strummer at school. It's all very incestuous here in Sydney's eastern suburbs, mate. You know, but yeah, mate, I know that Rise Foundation would want to be involved and to be on the show if they could. Both Ben Higgs and Robbie Hardy, who run those mental health suicide prevention courses.
Yeah, definitely send us that link because we're gonna. Yeah,
100%, mate. I will do.
Yeah, we interviewed a girl not long ago, Ryland. She's from Melbourne. She's a drummer. Mainly, she writes songs, mainly sings, but she's a drummer. She's a double kick fucking drum. She's brilliant. And I got her on the show because she was looking for. She just broke up. Well, the other person in her band had died, and she was looking for a new band to play in. And I thought I'll get her on the show. And she was speaking a lot about that same thing that you're speaking about. No, that was like dearly to her heart. She, it was brilliant. I don't know if you've heard of her, Ryland Chronic.
No, but I'll look her up now. Like I've done. Like you've put me back onto a lot of good music over the last little while, mate. Since we became friends. I'll check her out and see who she's playing with these days because, you know, when you're talking about pandemics and epidemics or whatever, the real epidemic, and it doesn't get anywhere near as much profile as it does as whatever else we've got, but, you know, the suicide rate is what is the real epidemic in Australia. And that's why I do fear at times that we go on about it too much and people, here he goes again, but it's too fucking important to not to be talking about as much as possible, you know, and that's why supporting organisations like Rise Foundation and Living.org and Lifeline and who are all interested in helping young people, old people, middle-aged people, divorced men, separated men, whoever. And it's just there's so much work being done, and I know, and I speak personally, and you know, I'm unabashed in talking about, you know, I had a bit of a period just before Christmas last year where I found myself in a bit of a crisis, and whereas there would have been a time when I'd have just been like locked myself in the room and just cried it out for 3 days or whatever, I never even thought twice about reaching out to a number of people and getting the help that I needed and even like with medication or something that I was dead against. But, you know, sometimes you've got to accept, and that's part of it. You've got to accept the help when it's offered to you. And I'll never forget, this was on a Friday, and on the Saturday week we played a show, and I said something about, you know, fuck, if you'd seen me this time last week, you know, I was in crises and I reached out to my friends and I reached out to people and things can turn around and they can turn around right quick. I think was something along those lines. This is to the audience. If you just fucking put your hand up, and that's the thing for everybody, but especially for middle-aged men like ourselves who you know were brought up to be stoic and you know, like you know, you really want to be, and so much work is being done, and I feel like for our children it's going to be so much easier that, you know, like when you break your leg or you do your cruise shoot or you break your arm on your skateboard, when you're feeling things mentally that you know, it's just fuck, help me, Dad, like you would when you had any other health issue.
Well, especially having children too. And I find this myself. You start getting into a dark place, and you've got children that are relying on you and everything, and you have to fucking do everything you can to get out of that dark place.
Yeah.
So you can be positive. So you're there with a big smile, you know,
Yep.
have your cornflakes, you know,
Yep.
get off to school, blah blah blah, you know. And it's a very hard thing. Like there's times where I get into a dark place and I see my children, and all I've got to do is just think, well, I don't want them to get into where I am at the moment. I'm going to put on this facade where I'm Mr. Happy, Mr. You know, and it's a hard thing to do, but having children, you've got to do that. You've got to show that, look.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah, that is true. But one of the things when I had this episode late last year, Matt, and this little bit of a crisis, I actually let my kids into it and showed her, and it was Higgsy actually was one of the people that I spoke to. And it was afterwards, because when something like that happened, and it can just be you haven't slept for a couple of nights, and I work a bit of shift work type deal, and you get tired and your serotonin levels drop, and things can seem bleaker. And a couple of days later, once I started on some medication and I was feeling a lot better about things, and I actually let my children, especially my sons, I let them know. I said, I'm having a bit of a issue at the moment, boys. You know, like, and then afterwards, I sort of was speaking to people. I was like, I'm a bit embarrassed about the kerfuffle now, to be honest. And the way that it was described to me, it was the way that I went and described it to my sons. When I messaged Higgsy and said, I feel a bit embarrassed about it, he said, mate, we're always talking about it. It was just your turn to walk the walk, you know? And when you put it like that, because one of the things as a man or as a person, you want to be known for walking it like you talk it. And putting a moment of weakness, but making it out like it's actually a moment of real strength, mate, that just turns it completely around, and it makes you feel like, and you don't feel embarrassed. And I mean, you're talking to people who love you, you know, and would do anything for you. So there's no need to, and that's what I said. The way that I took it when I was with my sons and my children, I said, well, that was what it was. You know, I was having a really bad time, and you know, the guys know what I'm talking about in my music. The kids know what I'm talking about in my music. I said it was my turn to walk the walk, and it turns it from being sort of a moment of weakness to actually being a moment of strength, which is important. You know.
No, thank you. That's great advice, man.
Mate, as I said, you know, it's. I said to you last time, you know, if someone's going to be watching this, and I mean, and we're creatives too. Creative people, you know, we have a tendency to overthink and a tendency to feel and that and overanalyze things, you know. And so a lot of the audience for a show like yours is people who are creatives like us, you know. And whether it be with the lyrics to Rise Up or the lyrics to this or that or the between song stuff, if you can have somebody, even if like one or two people feeling a bit of solidarity with what we're talking about, then, you know, that's heaps more important than getting more Bandcamp sales or
definitely
or whatever. I said the same thing last time, and I really believe it even more so now. You know, it's important. It's an important message.
Oh, it's a fucking very important message. Like, you know, I go through dark times a lot. Like, I've got 8 kids, and I take on their dark times kind of thing, and you know, and sometimes and it's sad, but sometimes I feel like saying, well, just fucking deal with it, work it out yourself, you know.
Yeah.
You can't keep doing this to me. You can't keep my head low. And I really, really do appreciate that advice that you just gave then. I hope a lot of viewers feel the same.
Or as I said, mate, I didn't come up with it myself. That was a quote from the great man Ben Higgs, who's doing incredible things with Rise Foundation Australia. I plug them every opportunity that I can because I know how important and how much they've helped me over the years, and how much solidarity I've felt with them during times when I haven't really felt myself, So
yeah. So what's the label you're starting up again,
mate? Super Spreader Records. It's I've got it's I was talking to some young. It's an idea that I've got, right, because a lot of bands when they're just starting out, and I was talking to when we played Factory Theatre as part of a festival a month ago. I was talking to these young kids, and we were talking about money, and they were going, like we're all, we just like to be able to record one song. And when you're recording and you've got a little bit, I'm a middle-aged guy and I've got my own business, so financially I am doing okay to be able to say, all right, we're going, and I'm one of four too, so we're all splitting the studio costs and whatever else. So my idea is to start, and it follows on with the sort of philanthropical, to start a label that's a not-for-profit organisation, but it funds. And the good thing for me is we could go in and record with my brother at the studio that he runs, Big Stage Fright Studios. And once the guys paid me back the money for the recording, we're done. I don't want to profit from anybody else's creativity. But it's giving people who might not have an opportunity to make records the opportunity that I'm fortunate enough to have because I'm older and because I'm a self-employed businessman and that type of thing. And that's Super Spreader. I came up with the idea because last year the name for the label was because we played a show and during one of the shows, I think it might have been between lockdowns. But one of the things that I know we spoke about spitting on the audience and getting a mouthful of water and spitting it up in the air all over myself. And somebody, talking about what people talk about online, somebody got on and said, oh, my God, how irresponsible. It looks like it must have been a super spreader event or something, right? And Richard, the bass player, had a go, and I just went, mate, no, it's water off a duck's back. Don't worry about it, But it just, I like the Super Spreader Records. It's like you're trying to get this music that may not be heard otherwise because, sometimes bands, and it can lead to bands breaking up, financial pressure, and as I said, it would be an organisation that, a not-for-profit organisation, and I'm no fucking accountant, mate. I'm an ideas man. So I don't know how that would work. I'm sure there'd be some type of tax write-off behind it or whatever, but it was just, if I'd go in and I'd sit with the guys and I'd produce, we'd go in and we'd make sure that we were going to get as much bang for our buck as we could. And so the songs are well jammed. Everybody knows what they're playing when we get into the studio, and we go in and we do it quick. So it's costing me and in turn them as little money as possible. And then if it's cost us $800 to do a double A side or record two songs, once they've been and once they paid me back, that's it, boys. Everything else is all anything else. And no one's ever going to be making millions unless it's something that really, really broke big. But I feel like it's an opportunity to give back and give some of these young bands, in particular, who are who don't have the record don't have the financial backing to record in a top level studio with a top level producer, the opportunity to do so. And it's only in the inception stage at the moment, but it's something that I'm really, really enthusiastic about. And it's like the singles and the Rock and Roll Philanthropists and the Crash and the Crapenter stuff. It's the stuff that makes me excited about life well into me middle age, giving people the opportunity to do something that they might not otherwise get to do because of financial, art. It's about art. It's about creativity. And when finances, they may be able to record a shitty little demo in the rehearsal room with their, but it'll give people a chance to share that side of themselves with the top producer and in a studio and you know, when I spoke to some young bands at this festival, they were like, oh wow, it was exciting, and seeing their excitement made me even more excited about the idea, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
I think that was originally Fat Mike's idea with Fat Records.
yep.
You know what I mean? I think originally that was his idea.
Mate,
But-
and that's what I mean. You know, you could be, you know, bands, the amount of bands who probably possibly some of the best bands you ever may have heard, but just didn't get to that recording stage, or circumstances didn't work out for them that they never got that far. You never know. You know, you could, and even just, and I know for me personally, one of the reasons why I really like being prolific is that, you know, I'm turning 50 this year, Matt, and you know, when there's less days in front of the horse than there is behind the back of the cart, you start thinking about legacy, and you start thinking about, and I'm just loving the fact, and especially by the end of the year when I'm envisaging having a third full length album out, 4 rock and roll philanthropist singles. I got me little solo love songs that I put out every now and then just because I feel like it.
Yeah.
And you know, in 20 years, when I have possibly shuffled off this mortal coil, my children might be able to play it to their children, and it's not just about this old photo of Poppy or whatever else. They can go, it's Poppy. He used to rock occasionally, you know, like it's the sort of thing that you do think about it as you're getting older, and that's part of the legacy too. Having people talk about Super Spreader Records and going, oh mate, it's amazing what they're doing. They put this record out for this guys and this guys and this guys, and the guy doesn't want to make a profit. I don't want to profit from anybody else's creativity. I just want my money's paid back. It's all yours, guys. You know, mate. I'm about 4%. I don't want my phone to die out mid-interview.
Yeah, well, we got like, have you got about 10 minutes?
No, I probably haven't, mate. Can I take a pause? I'll just go and get my charger, and I'll set myself up with the phone on the charger. I'll be 2 seconds. 2 songs. We're back. I blew my voice. I blew my voice out after like 2 songs, and we were fucking awful, right? Yeah. But it was like a pressure release valve. Like, honestly, 2 weeks later, we played our first ever Sydney show, and that was with the Collertons. And we were so fortunate. We played with the Hannigans, the Collertons, Batfoot, and fucking Sketch Method at our first ever show in Sydney. And because we'd released so much pressure with that first show 2 weeks before, we went great. And then we played shit shows, and we played good shows, but for me personally, just myself as a performer, just the fact that I was doing it was the victory. You know, like playing the good shows, playing the bad shows or whatever, the fact that I was doing something that I didn't even really think that I was capable of was the victory, you know, like, and that's why to be where we are now, and we're seasoned and we're established, and we play good shows, and even now, but even our worst shows, we feel like we come off stage and we feel like we've done well, you know. So it's, you know, it's just, and I hate when people talk about the journey, you know, like it's a fucking, I hate that term, but really, you know, playing in a band, and you got your ups and downs and guys leaving, and especially when it's a band with guys with families, and you've got limitations on what you can do. But if you just look at it as being, and that's one of the things with me too, personally, I've really started it since I had a few issues in December. I've really started meditation and really, and, you know, the ice baths we talked about earlier, and my running and all that type of stuff. And it's really helped me to be, you know, I know it sounds a little bit hippy dippy for a punk rock show, but it's helped. It's about being in the present and doing your best you can for that show. Worry about the next show after that, and worry about the record, and that. Just try and do each thing that you're doing as well as you can, and that's about the best you can do. You know, you might not meet other people's expectations at times. Other times you'll exceed people's expectations. But really, if you're coming off stage going, I felt like we did well, and that's about the best you can do. And try not to be your own harshest self-critic. That's the most important thing too, you know, like generally
I remember seeing at the Lansdowne Hotel. It was, I think it was 86, 87. It was Mass Appeal and the Brady Bunch Lawnmower Massacre.
Yeah.
Which was Fred Negro from My Spit on the Gravy.
Yeah.
And I remember Mass Appeal finishing, and I was that fucking hyped up. I thought that was just the fucking best thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And I remember he walked off stage and said that was just the fucking worst gig that we've ever played. And
there you go.
It's just, I was a Mass Appeal fan, but that gig just fucking done it for me, man. It was like, are you fucking kidding? You guys are brilliant. And he walked off, and I was up the front, and I don't know if you know about Lansdowne, the stage is like 3 feet off the ground.
Yeah, yeah.
I think, no, you're not that much lower than the band.
Yeah, yeah.
And as he was walking off, he was saying, I can't remember the bass player's name, the guy with the long black dreads. He ended up playing with Fiona Horn in
Def Effects. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he walked off, and the singer, Randy, turned around and said to him, he goes, oh, fucking, that has got to be the worst gig we've ever done. And I'm thinking, well, you have no idea, man, because that just blew my fucking mind, you know?
That's what it is. It's a lot of the time, like, people don't know, like, and that's what I always say to my guys if they come off and they've been like, oh, fuck, I missed that bit and I missed that bit. I said, mate, nobody notices that stuff, you know? You know, what people remember is how energetic you were and how you were working together and things like that, you know, and the energy level. The energy is so important. You're not just communicating verbally and musically. It's the energy that you're a part of. And that's the sort of thing where the audience is as important as the band a lot of the time, because it's energy that you're sharing. And I remember being at a show once and I started playing and I got into it, and when we went on stage there was I think it was at the Tattered and Torn Festival, but the second time that we played it, and some legendary band were playing on one of the other stages, and they started 15 minutes into our set. So I was watching and fucking, I reckon I had my eyes closed for the first 5 songs, and when I opened them, our audience had gone from about 80 people to about fucking 30. And in that moment, I took it real personal, and I fucking, you know, like I got in my own head about it and that, you know, like, but the thing is, there were circumstances behind that, you know. It wasn't just because we were fucking going terrible, but it affected the way that I performed. Same way as when you get an audience that's fucking going off and it lifts you, you know, and more often than not, when you've played a show that you look as being one of your shows that you've done really, really well, it's because you're feeding off what you're getting from the audiences, and they're feeding, and it's, you're all working together in synergy to create this experience, you know. And it's funny what you said. A mate of mine named Stevie Tagg, he's a personal trainer with Rock Hard Fitness, but he came to a show that we did last year, and he's a mate of mine, and I know him from Maroubra, and he's always loved music, but he had fallen out of the scene. He wasn't going to shows and that, you know, like. So one of the things I said, I'll come to this show, and he had an expectation, but he came to the show, and it was Crashing the Crapenters, Operation Ibis, who were just incredible, Shit Tinnies, who are always incredible, and Boys Club, who were incredible for the brief time that they were together. I feel so fortunate that I was able to play a couple of shows with them. And after the night was over, after the last band played, I was talking to Steve, and I could tell that he had an expectation that it would be good, but he was fucking mind was blown. You know, it was so much. And he said, I can't believe that these type of shows are going on week in, week out in venues across Sydney and the Gong and Central Coast and wherever else. And he said, I didn't even know. I'm only here because I know you. And that's part of that thing, you know, like making people aware of how good the scene is. And when the band was on last time, there was somebody posted from like somewhere in the States, And I think, to me, a lot of the time you don't know who is hearing your stuff or whatever. You don't know how they're hearing it or where they're hearing it. And this guy was like, fuck, these guys are great. Wish they'd tour South Carolina or wherever this guy was. And I mean, hey?
California.
Yeah, well, California, wherever he was. And at the moment, I'm sitting in lockdown in fucking Botany and reading something like that. You just go, it's, and the concept of being in a band at that stage where we were in these lockdowns that we were in just seemed alien, but it was just like, fuck, there was a real lift, and that's what you're trying to do. And as I was just saying to Jeff, where there's so much fucking negativity, you got to turn on the news and whatever else, but trying to share that energy and be positive with our lyrics and be positive with our message. And that's just the way that we're trying to contribute to the world that we live in a positive way.
Oh, definitely. The energy, like, I've got to say, like, don't get me wrong, you're not a really big bloke. You're not a big bloke, okay? But I've seen you up on YouTube and shit up on the stage, and you're the rock. You are the fucking rock up there, man. I
always have people, and they're like, Henry Rollins and Iggy Pop and that. And I say, yeah, fuck, like, I'm not doing anything new, but I'm just, trying to do it well, and I mean, Iggy Pop, one of the most commanding presences in the history of fucking rock and roll, probably 65 kilos dripping wet, 5'4" or something, like, it's just, you can be, and I I really appreciate you saying, because I always say to people when I hear we get positive feedback from people, and it's people who have been in punk rock for 30 years like yourself and people who go to shows regularly. And I always talk about, I talk to the guys in the Shit Tinnies and to the guys in the Collertons who, when we were starting off and we were finding our feet as a band, the positivity that we received from these guys who were playing week in, week out with all it was so good for us, and it really helped us to gain confidence. And then we're trying to do that with bands as well. We're putting shows on and getting bands that haven't really played heaps of shows and trying to get them playing shows regularly. It's just really, as I said, I feel really, it's a real privilege to be part of the Sydney punk rock scene. And I'm actually looking forward to getting, I'm actually talking to the Servo to try and get the Crapenters back down there. We haven't been down there since December 2019. I think we played a set of Clash covers and try and get down to the Gong and get down to Ulladulla and places like that again, and just go to places that we've, I'm a little bit as well when it comes to playing shows. When you're playing every week in, week out, people get a bit, fucking, they're playing them there this week, and then they're playing there. I believe, and because of our situation, we're all middle-aged guys, we've all got families, it is a bit of a little bit less is more at times, so that way when you are playing a show, you can sort of build it up a bit more because it's not something that you're doing all the time. Just that thing, less is more sometimes. When you're overplaying your hand a little bit at times, people can become a bit blasé about you,
Oh, for sure. No, but you guys, I can't wait to hear more of your the Crapenters.
Mate, I can't wait for you to come to a show, because I know you speak about our live experience from what you've seen on YouTube and that, but I'm really looking forward to getting you to a show, mate, at some stage.
I'm looking forward to going to one, mate. Trust me.
I can't wait. I'm just waiting. Do you know anybody at the Servo? I sent him an email during the week. Nobody got back to me. I want to put it together.
No, I don't know. But I will find out for you.
Well, the good thing is, and that's one of the amazing things about the Gong is, places like Dicey, right? We played a show at Dicey Riley's, a Christmas show that the great man Josh Smith put on from Radio Rejects. And it was so funny. We were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, and I said to him, "Oh, mate, last time we played Dicey's was sick." And he actually organised the show, but I was talking to him, and he said, "Yeah, I put that show together." And I said, "Oh, fuck, that's how raucous it was. I don't even remember the fact that he put it on, and the fucking crowd was amazing, and it was at Christmas time, so I was just blind drunk and giving T-shirts away and all sorts of shit, you know, like, and it was like, it was one of the great nights that the band had, you know, and especially in light of the fact that I think of that lineup, there's probably only two of us left. I think it might have only been Dave and I, or maybe Richard was with us then as well. So it's like having that experience with those guys at that time. It's different now, you know, because we're making new experiences with the new guys, and that's one of the things, as I said, that we haven't played Frankie's yet, and it's a bucket list item for us to be, you know. And I can remember when we were first starting out, our first Sydney show was at the Mosh Pit, and then we aspired to play the Valve Bar, and then we played the Valve Bar, and then we played the Annandale, and we played and then when we played Factory, was probably the biggest venue that we've played, sort of thing. And Frankie's is really, if you're, you know, when you're into your music, it's just such an icon, and the chance to play it, especially before it closes up where it is down there on Hunter Street, I think. We're really excited about it. That's May 29. If anybody is not doing anything on a Sunday night, May 29, come down and have a look at Crashing the Crapenters at Frankie's. I've lost the audio, Matt. I can't hear.
Yeah, I muted it because my kids were being little cunts.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah. All right. No, the interview will be out before then.
Awesome.
Yep. So hopefully we get you a good lot of.
Well, mate, as I said, we're working hard. We're jamming new stuff at the moment. But once we've got these couple of singles in the can to put out, we're going to be looking to launch them and looking to play far and wide and play a few more shows. Try and play a couple of shows a month for the last 6 months of the year to just enjoy getting out there and having a good time playing live shows again, which is something we haven't been able to do much of the last couple of years.
Of course. We've got to go, but the last thing I want to say is thank you so much for coming back on the show. Like, the first season, I was quite embarrassed about it because it was so new to me. I'd never done it before. And
mate, authenticity is very important, Matt. And so it's that same thing that we were just talking about, you know, like you're being a bit self-critical, but we love the way you come across because you're so authentic, and you were just like speaking from the point of view of, you know, I could imagine bumping into you at the Dicey Riley's at the bar, and we're talking and that, and you are, as I said to you last time, you're giving bands like us and performers like us a chance to, you know, I think at last count, the last time I looked, the YouTube video of our first, when Crashing the Crapenters were on, was it 300 something? You know, it's probably 300 people who may have never heard of us before and have heard of us through what you're doing. So we really appreciate having the opportunity to talk about ourselves and be able to promote ourselves in a DIY, like we're DIY, you're DIY. And mate, I thank you enough for giving me the chance to promote Crash Carpenter's Rock and Roll Philanthropists, Somebody to Believe In, out now on all the streaming services. And Crashing the Crapenters are going to be putting out singles for the rest of the year and playing shows. So I just invite the audience. You'll all be more than welcome. Come to a show, and to you too. And we can try and get down your way and play a show down there.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again for the opportunity. Thank you, Jeff, the man behind the scenes.
Yes, he does well, mate. I would not fucking know what to do if it wasn't for him.
You and me both, mate. You and me both. And thanks to both of you guys for doing what you're doing and helping us promote ourselves.
Yes, if I could, you know I would keep hanging out with you. Laughing, walking, singing, talking, and all that we could do. Sharing some laughs over the past and finding out what's new. Yes, if I could, you know I would keep hanging out.